Hey there! Welcome to another build video. This time, we are going for a simple setup utilizing quick hacks and whipping enemies with a monowire. If you want to jump ahead, you may go straight to this time code, which will lead you to the build summary. Do take advantage of the chapters that I laid out on the timeline though. This is gonna be more than an hour long, so if this feels very long for a build video, don't worry, there's a shorter version of this video which I will link in the description below. I was on the creative mindset while making this one, so let me know what you think of it, and feel free to correct me down in the comments if you find errors in the video. Thank you very much for stopping by, and I really hope you liked the presentation. On with the show.
Well, who do we have here? Long time.
There's truth in what they say about Night City. There's no other place like it. And for you to come back from Atlanta just speaks volumes on why anyone would come back after turning their backs on it. No one ever leaves the city just like that. But nonetheless, the city is still teeming with opportunities, and the major leagues are still at hand. Now obviously going for the street kid path is the right choice to complement the backstory, and as the story plays out in the beginning, and the job from Kirk that was doomed to begin with went awry, you meet Jackie. Jackie is an enthusiastic, ambitious merc who dreams about being in the major leagues. Just like you, he wants to be a living legend. This is where you get to have fun role-playing as your character. We set up our character to be a fan of legends like Morgan Blackhand, Andrew Weyland, and the like. The legends that went against the status quo and attracted anarchy and chaos wherever they went, all in the name of screwing the corp. Each and every one of them having their acts well known, it is something to behold and wear as your crown, and that someday you may wear on your own. Share that enthusiasm with Jackie at every opportunity through dialogue.
Afterlife, here we come, baby. Yeah!
We have arrived. The major leagues.
Does not get any higher, chum.
Both of you have similar minds, so do your best to maintain that narrative during the first act. For the rest of the game, despite circumstances, you never forego your dream. Being the best is still your goal. Make sure you are efficient and clean at your job and completing them perfectly, which means that you need to check if there's any optional objectives available for a gig and finish them to fully satisfy your fixer. Or not.
It's complicated. Hop out before I change my mind.
I do not know what is going on, but thank you.
Even though you're a professional, you are still a human being capable of feeling sympathy and care towards innocent lives and mercy towards your enemies. Be sure to do everything in your power to not hurt any civilians, and when it comes to your enemies, killing them may solve a lot of problems, so only kill your targets if you have to, but always prioritize on just putting them to sleep. An easy way to do this is to equip the target analysis mod into your Kuroshi and using quick hacks that are non-lethal. Try going through the game without ever killing anyone for a bit of a challenge. One of the first quest lines that you may want to complete during the early parts of Act 2 is the Evelyn Parker questline, where you will end up asking for the Voodoo Boys to help you with your biochip dilemma. This is where you will experience being in front of the infamous Black Wall and be in the presence of another Netrunner legend, Alt Cunningham. So find as little joy as you can during these moments as a cyberspace aficionado yourself. And as you build your intelligence attribute, you become more and more proficient as a netrunner. There will always be opportunities where you get to show off your repertoire and share some valuable insights about what you're good at.
You'll need soft that'll isolate chip and implant receptor layers from Cloud's subnet. At the same time, it'll keep track of and block any attempts to modify the core on the go.
Now in human rather than machine.
Always pick dialogues that have an intelligence icon beside them to give responses that really fit your character's nerdy personality.
Nightcorp's secured up the ass. Can't just upload the usual blackout and fire shaft. You must have whipped up some angry demons. You zip them up in an imp?
Yeah, Leviathan. Even Cerberus isn't enough if you want to punch through that kind of corpo ice.
Lastly, the Johnny Silverhand situation. Although quite a wonder that a legend is literally living inside your head while slowly devouring your psyche, your survival is your utmost importance. The guy will eventually see your predicament and will try to help in his own way. Being close to a legend like him is enough for you to warm up to him and get along pretty well, despite the fact that you realize that he's a dick. You still have enough pride and self-respect to not take his bullshit. You kinda wish that it would be Spider Murphy to pop into your head instead of this asshole. Don't kiss his ass.
You know, you've got some nerve. First you're out to kill me, now you want to be my pal and make like nothing happened?
All in all, the vanilla game leaves little room for role-playing opportunities due to the fact that we're playing a preset character that has a voice and personality. But we'll try our best to work around that by inserting our own narrative through our actions in the world, dialogues, and equipment, which is what we're gonna delve into right now. Oh, and before I forget, your choice of vehicle is the Arch Nazaire that you get from Okako, so be sure to buy it once it becomes available.
To being filthy rich.
Filthy rich legends.
Now that we have fleshed out the narrative of our character, let's now build our V into a powerhouse of cyber magic and electrical whips. For our starting attributes, max out intelligence and reflexes to 6 so that we can have a good head start for blades, breach protocol, and quick hacking. The setup is built around these two attributes where we will intensively focus on quick hacking and blade weapon bonuses. Keep in mind that the Monowire is now categorized as a blade weapon. Everything else will be supplemented by cold blood. So for now, your one remaining point will go to cool. Be sure to make your V look like a badass by adding Valentino tattoos to show off our character's origins, and some Cyberware aesthetics on their face to really hit the mark on the young virtuoso netrunner theme that we are going for. Check out my sliders if you want to copy my V. From the beginning of the game, you want to start off by boosting your intelligence to 20 as you level up. This will land you on level 15, so for the entirety of the first act, you will be spending most of your points on intelligence related things, namely quick hacking perks and breach protocol perks. We'll discuss in a few. While the intended playstyle of the build is to get close and whip your enemies with a monowire, one of the main crux of this setup is to avoid getting damage overall, as opposed to tanking damage through armor and health regen. We'll do this by relying on our quick hacks. We'll be using a combination of different types that includes covert quick hacks, control quick hacks, and combat quick hacks. So get ready for that juicy and satisfying contagion chain. After developing our net running skills, we'll move on to reflexes. Bring this one up to 18 to get the necessary perks needed for the monowire. You'll end up at level 27 with just about everything. Simple enough, we dove deep into the reflexes attribute mainly for the blade skill tree. Being that the Monowire is our only weapon of choice, it only makes sense to specialize in this attribute. Aside from getting more damage for our Monowire, we'll also get to boost our crit chance and movement speed. For the final stretch of the build, we move on to max out our cool to 20. By level 43, we will further improve our stats and add an extra layer of survivability with this awesome little perk called Blood Swell. And then of course, some damage boosting perks too, like Jeepers Creepers and Merciless if you can acquire it. You always want to prioritize stealth in any encounter, so getting the essential stealth-related perks from the Ninjutsu skill tree is a no-brainer. But if you find yourself in a firefight, stacking Cold Blood will always be your option. With quick hack boosts like Quick Transfer and Frosty Synapses, and the incredible life-saving Blood Swell, you'll be keeping yourself up without needing any armor or health regen. We will be forgoing technical ability completely because this is a non-crafting build. We don't need armor, and we won't be needing any range weapons. For the remaining attribute points that you have, you may dump it all on body. There are a few perks here that are quite useful, so we'll go with that. Overall, this is what we'll end up at level 50. As you can see here, the intelligence attribute opens up opportunities to improve quick hacking in a number of aspects. Combined with convenient and efficient utilization of breach protocol, reflexes raise our damage output further by boosting crit chance together with the right perks from the blade skill tree. Additionally, we enhance our stealth capabilities with Ninjutsu and supplement everything else with Cold Blood, both skill trees from Cool. It will be a walk in the park whipping your Monowire while casting cyber spells against your enemies, whether offensively or defensively. Pretty cool setup all around.
I managed to...
Buddha, is he dead?
He's breathing. For now.
Let's dive in further into the build as we crank up our Cyberpunk Mage to 11. Now the core idea of the build is to effectively use quick hacks to our advantage and at the same time, get in close to the enemies and dispatch them using the Monowire, all the while prioritizing stealth. With that said, our perk distribution will include anything to improve our quick hack damage and efficiency. With a combination of different types of quick hacks, namely covert, control, and combat, we not only can engage the enemies from a distance, but also be able to get up close and personal without ever taking damage. We'll be taking most of the perks in this skill tree, advancing them to their maximum potential. Take for example these damage boosting perks, Bloodware and Subliminal Message. Since we're putting stealth above everything else during encounters, Subliminal Message will provide us with a significant 100% damage bonus whenever we cast combat quick hacks such as the Contagion or the Short Circuit, not to mention the raw 30% damage boost that comes with Bloodware. And if that's not enough, with Critical Error, we'll have plenty of chances to push those damage numbers further with critical hits. For this setup, we'll do our best to bump up our native crit chance and crit damage stats so that we can rely on using our combat quick hacks effectively. We can improve our quick hack DPS by taking the Signal Support perk, which will lengthen quick hack duration by 50%. Now obviously, it's amazing for our combat quick hacks, but it's also very beneficial for the other quick hack types as well. With this perk, together with our control and covert quick hacks, we can keep the enemies in check at a convenient pace. To add more to that, with Diffusion and Plague, not only can we apply our quick hacks on one target, we can spread crowd control, debuff, and or damage over time effects across multiple enemies. As a result, we engage the enemies as they stand there, debilitated by all the spells that you cast on them. You can completely avoid damage and at the same time punish your enemies as you see fit. Damage and range are cool and all, but it would be pretty pointless without efficiency perks. To start off, let's begin with RAM recovery. We'll go with Forget Me Not to be paired with the Memory Boost Cyberware and the Master RAM Liberator trait that we'll get once we max out the quick hacking tree. We'll mostly rely on instant recovery as opposed to slow regeneration. That's why we're not taking Biosynergy. Likewise, we don't need to put any points on the trait. We'll automatically get it once we cap out our quick hacking skill. For cooldown reduction, we'll take Daisy Chain. Now the way this perk works is that every time you eliminate any target under the effect of any quick hack, your quick hacks that are currently on cooldown will be reduced by 50%. Perfect for when you pair this with a ping quick hack, because casting it to a target will affect the entire network, thus putting this perk into play. You'll be able to cast your quick hacks in between enemies conveniently. Moving on to cost reduction, we take Mnemonic and Optimization. While Mnemonic will reduce quick hack costs by 2 rounds against an enemy already affected by a quick hack, like the ping as mentioned earlier, Optimization simply flat out reduces them by 1 round. Regardless, it's a good combination of perks to further improve efficiency. Now you might be wondering, how would any of the things I said for the past several minutes be of any use if you don't have the actual quick hacks themselves? That's why we're taking Hacker's Manual, School of Hard Hacks, Hacker Overlord, and Bart Moss's Legacy to craft our very own quick hacks. You may craft all the quick hacks there are in the game, or you may craft only the ones that you need. Later on in the video, we'll talk about what you can use effectively and what I personally use all the time. Remember to respec these perks out once you're satisfied with what you'll eventually end up with. Additionally, you're gonna have to breach into as many access points as you can to gather components for crafting your quick hacks. This also means that you get to save a lot of time by not having to save scum in front of high-level access points for a chance of getting legendary quick hacks. Moving over to the Breach Protocol skill tree, we'll mostly go for perks that improve Breach Protocol itself and ones that further support our quick hacking perks. Always keep in mind that before engaging your targets, check to see if you can perform the Breach Protocol hack, and since we're making them easy to solve through our perks, make sure to complete all sequences to take advantage of different effects such as quick hack cost reduction, cooldown reduction, and enemy debuffs, in which we will take the 3 mass vulnerability perks, namely mass vulnerability, resistances, and quick hacks. Combining all 3 of these perks will reduce all of your enemies' resistances and at the same time take more damage from your combat quick hacks. To further improve our quick hack perks using Breach, we'll go with Total Recall, Total Recall, and Hackathon. Hackathon will further shorten your quick hack cooldowns by 33% as long as you upload 3 or more demons. We'll be using a particular quick hack to have an additional demon available for us while we breach. With Total Recall and Total Recall, quick hack costs will be further reduced by 2 rams, total of 3 rams overall. Now, the Ice Pick demon, which is always placed as the first sequence during breach, which means when we get perks like Head Start, Compression, and Buffer Optimization, hacking sequences will be a lot less complicated. With Head Start, like I said, the first sequence being solved from the get-go, the Ice Pick demon will always be active after breach. Further making the hacking minigame a lot easier is Compression by simply reducing the sequence length by 1. And finally, with Buffer Optimization, you prolong your demon effects. Very effective for stealth situations, which we will do often. Less complicated breach, more hacking. I included Big Sleep here because it helps in stealth as well. You don't really need to take it, but if you find cameras really troublesome, I recommend spending at least a single point on it, so you don't need to worry about these pesky little things when you're sneaking around the place. A few perks here that I didn't take and some that I didn't take but at least you might want to consider. First is Cloud Cache. I didn't spend a point on it because it only affects the 1 quick hack after a successful breach. It works if you want to initiate an encounter with a quick hack, so if you want to take it, spend at least 1 point on it. Also, the Turret Demon perks because there's not enough turrets in the game to actually warrant spending points on these. Advanced Data Mine and Data Mine Mastermind are pretty solid if you want to gather more resources when breaching access points. 2 points spent on each will double your accumulation. You may get rid of them through respec at a later time. And obviously, we're not going to take Data Mine Virtuoso because we're crafting our quick hacks. Almost In won't be necessary unless you have a hard time solving the Breach Protocol minigame. I also didn't spend on Extended Network Interface because access points aren't really that hard to find. For efficiency, I think it's also kind of a waste to spend on since we're using the Memory Boost Cyberware, which I believe is a much better approach to RAM regeneration. Moving on to the blade skill tree, I think it's pretty straightforward. We simply just focus on getting as much damage output as we can. The Monowire is the added flavor to our playstyle. While this is mostly a quick hacking build, we like to get up close and personal as opposed to just standing from a distance and cast contagion and get the job done. That's kind of boring if I'm being honest. For increasing our damage output, max out Sting Like a Bee, which increases attack speed by 30%, Blessed Blade to increase crit chance by 10%, Judge, Jury, and Executioner, and Fiery Blast to give a significant boost to our weapon damage. Judge, Jury, and Executioner, which doubles our damage against enemies with max health, perfect for quick executions when doing stealth, combined with the perk Jeepers Creepers from the Ninjutsu tree. And then of course, Fiery Blast, if you prefer to take down your enemies with whip combos. In addition to boosting our Monowire's damage output, we'll take perks that give damage bonuses to our attack types. Roaring Waters, which gives more damage to our strong attacks. Strong attacks are performed by holding your attack button for a more powerful strike than a normal attack. Offensive Defense, which boosts damage to our defensive attacks, which can be done by pressing the attack button while holding your block button. We'll talk more in depth about the different attack types later on in the video. Flight of the Sparrow to be able to manage our stamina consumption a little better. We'll be pairing this with a particular Cyberware to wield the Monowire comfortably, but until you get that Cyberware, be mindful of your stamina as it runs out rather quickly. As for Death Bolt, we want to take it because of the healing and the movement speed boost. I know I said that we're gonna avoid any damage as best as we can, but it never hurts to be sure because situations can become dicey, and we need to be able to restore health during those situations. For the completely optional and rejected perks, for Shifting Sands, if you want to further improve stamina management, it's perfectly fine to max this one out. Bleeding perks such as Crimson Dance, Stuck Pig, Crimson Tide, and Bloodlust, we already have enough damage types to dispatch enemies. Bleeding would be severely underutilized, so I don't recommend taking these at all. Slow and Steady is pretty good, only if we're building a tanky katana-wielding cyber psycho. But since we're going for the high-flying, nimble spider type, we're ditching armor entirely, so spending points on this perk is completely up to you. Unbroken Spirit would be pretty good if only there would be plenty of situations where we can utilize counterattacks. We would take Float Like a Butterfly, but for now, it doesn't seem to work at all. I took this perk in my Jedi build, and it pretty much works as intended, as indicated by an icon appearing beside the health bar. But after the recent patches, I tried it out with this perk maxed out, and it doesn't seem to give any sign that it works. No icon, same damage, same DPS, no changes. It appears to be bugged at the moment, so I suggest leaving this one out for now. To complete the repertoire of our badass cyber mage, we move to improve our stealth capabilities with a few important perks from the Ninjutsu tree. The idea here is to take detection bonuses and sneaking abilities. Let's dive in. Movement speed is pretty convenient for me, so we'll spend 1 point on Crouching Tiger. This one's very useful during the early game, while at that point in the game, you don't have enough of your abilities to be fully capable of dominating your enemies. Stealth is key. Having increased movement speed will significantly help on that front. Strike from the Shadows to flat out boost crit chance by 7% while sneaking. It helps a lot when you choose to eliminate your enemies via combat quick hacks. Going back to a quick hacking perk that I discussed earlier, Critical Error will have your quick hacks deal critical hits based on your crit stats, so keep that in mind. And then of course, one of the best perks for this build, Jeepers Creepers. While using crouch attacks from stealth, not only will your Monowire deal double of its damage, it will also be a guaranteed critical hit. That's an auto kill right off the bat, so be sure to take this one. And with all of that covering sneaking abilities, let's continue. From the Shadows, coupled with a memory wipe quick hack, will constantly bump your crit chance by 20%. Spend a point on this if you prefer to have memory wipe on your set of quick hacks. To further boost your hiding skills, we'll max out Ghost to increase enemy detection time by 40%. Max out your Ninjutsu skill as well to supplement this perk to have your stealth game reach its full potential. Even though I said that we're avoiding damage entirely, it's still important to be able to survive incoming damage. So that's why we're taking Cheat Death Cheap Death will boost your damage reduction by 50% for 10 seconds once you drop below 50% health. You'll be able to tank damage for a short time, enough time for you to heal up with consumables or eliminate your enemies while having the Death Bolt perk from Blades. It's definitely another way to ensure survivability. Make sure to spend a point on this one. Most of the perks that we didn't take here are pretty self-explanatory. Again, this build will only exclusively use Quickhacks and the Monowire. Even though we are investing on the blade skill tree, we're not going to be using knives. With that said, we'll leave out perks that involve having knives equipped, perks that involve having guns equipped, and here are some more optional perks that you can spend on if you want. Poison perks now benefit the Contagion Quick Hack, so you may take these perks to further improve the Quick Hack in different ways. All very effective, not only during stealth, but also when you find yourself in combat. With Rattlesnake, you can cripple your enemies by keeping them from running. Critical Antidote will deal a huge amount of damage against an enemy already affected by poison. Make sure to cast Contagion first and then hit them with a strong attack. Take note that it will remove the poison status after the hit and then followed by a 5-second cooldown. Corrosive Poison not only makes you deal 20% more damage against enemies, but it also makes poison now applicable to robots. Leg Up, which will increase your movement speed after a takedown. Hasty Retreat 2 if you want. Both are solid speed boosts. Clean Work, if you want to be like Agent 47, for me, this maneuver is a bit janky, so I didn't take it. Restorative Shadows, which I don't recommend at all because we're not focusing much on health regen. With Maxed Out Cool, we'll be able to take advantage of the best perks in the game. With the Cold Blood tree, it will allow us to easily enter combat situations if you fail stealth during an encounter, or if you just decide to go in aggressively. And if you can manage to reach 20 skill levels of the Cold Blood skill, we'll push our damage output even further. I'm talking about the Merciless perk that you can get once you max out Cold Blood. From 0 points, it increases your crit chance by 5% and crit damage by 25% while Cold Blood is active. And if you happen to have extra perk points to spare, those will boost these numbers even more. You may dump your points on this perk. I wasn't able to max out my Cold Blood in this playthrough, mainly because I didn't finish all of the activities in the game, but if you want to grind for maximum Cold Blood, you may grind skill experience in the Valentino alley, There's also a spot in Reconciliation Park, again, more Valentinos. Pacifica has a number of enemy nodes where they can spawn repeatedly. Just keep in mind that if you are grinding skill XP, be sure to always have the sleep buff to give yourself a little boost in acquiring experience. To activate Cold Blood itself, you need points on, well, Cold Blood. You get a movement speed boost for every stack, so make sure to max this one out so you can get at least 3 stacks. It's also possible to get additional stacks. Take the perk Coldest Blood, which increases the maximum stack of Cold Blood by 2. Now, to be able to sustain your Cold Blood stacks, it's important to take Coagulant to have your stacks be removed one by one as each stack expires, as opposed to having the entire stack disappear once the duration runs out. Remember that the duration of Cold Blood decreases by a second for each additional stack, so to remedy that, we'll max out Critical Condition, which will increase the duration of Cold Blood by 50%. Since we're sort of focusing on building our crit stats, it wouldn't hurt to get Cold and Calculating, which will give us a 50% chance to stack our Cold Blood when we land critical hits. And that pretty much sums up on improving the Cold Blood ability. Like I said, we maxed out the Cold Blood tree to be able to handle combat. It's not just specialized for stealth, but it is also viable for aggressive play. And because of that, we'll be taking another one of the best, Blood Swell. As the perk description says, upon receiving lethal damage while cold blood is active, it prevents death, consumes all stacks of cold blood, restores health based on the amount of stacks you have, while granting you damage immunity for 5 seconds. Has a 15-second cooldown. This perk works wonders in terms of survivability because it allows you to be more aggressive despite having minimal health recovery and armor, so be sure to spend a point on this one. Now let's talk about the supplementary perks that you may take or leave. For the survivability perks, you may at least want to spend a point on Pain as an Illusion, which will give you a 5% damage reduction when cold blood is active. Keep in mind, it's not a per stack deal. It is 5% regardless of the number of stacks. You may take Will to Survive and Defensive Clotting if you prefer to get a little more juice to your defensive stats. Personally, I didn't take them because we're not really optimizing on the clothing front. We'll instead be focusing on our fashion. At the very least, max out Will to Survive to have our resistances covered. Immunity is pretty solid too, but keep in mind that it will only work when you have at least 4 stacks of cold blood active, and it will only maintain for a short amount of time. I didn't take it for those reasons as I preferred other ways to get my immunities. For rapid blood flow, again, we're not going to be going for health regen, so I suggest leaving this one out. For damage perks, we'll take Blood Brawl to further boost our melee damage by 10%. Same situation from earlier, it's not per stack, it's while active. Predator is completely optional to max out. You may at least spend 1 point on it. It increases your attack speed by up to 150%. Although the attack speed for the Monowire caps out at 4.14, and with all the attack speed bonuses that we can get from the Blade skill tree and the Micro Rotor Cyberware, we can reach that cap with just a few stacks. I maxed it out because I didn't go for the Micro Rotor Cyberware. We'll talk about that when we get to the Cyberware segment. Moving on to more quick hacking bonuses, there's Quick Transfer, which will further reduce your upload time by up to 20%. I recommend maxing out this one, and Frosty Synapses to reduce your quick hack cooldowns by up to 30%. I recommend getting this if you are running a memory wipe on your quick hack set. It may be a little overkill when you already have efficiency from Breach Protocol, but keep in mind though that not all enemies can be breached, so having Frosty Synapses maxed out will act as an alternative to when you need your cooldowns reduced. And then of course, we're not going to take any of these gun-related perks. Finally, for the athletics tree, if you decide on getting your body attribute to 10, we only really need a few important perks here, which are Steel and Chrome, which will boost your melee damage further by 20%, and True Grit, which will increase your stamina by 30%. You may also take Pack Mule if you want to worry less about storage. At least a single point to Epimorphosis to restore health to full when you're outside combat. And that pretty much covers all the perks that you need, that you don't need, and that you may want for your character. We'll finally move on to gear.
Nice work, V. All Night City thanks you. Get closed and sealed.
When it comes to weapons, leave all of your weapon slots empty. From the very beginning of the game, we're going to drop weapons entirely and utilize stealth through the use of takedowns and quick hacks. And throughout the story, we'll slowly progress into adding on the Monowire to our set of abilities. Of course, when the story requires you to shoot stuff, you're allowed to break the rule a little bit. For this section, we'll go straight to clothing. The outfit choices are inspired by Night City legend Spider Murphy with touches of our V's color scheme. With the introduction of the wardrobe system from patch 1.6, we can now mix and match clothing according to our taste and have decent stats at the same time. But before we delve into the visual aspect of our clothing, let's talk about the recent changes to clothing stats and what setup that you may want to go for. Clothing in Cyberpunk 2077 can now roll with properties that can give decent bonuses to your stats. These stat bonuses can vary depending on the clothing piece itself, but for most clothing, there is a general pool of properties that can roll for these clothing items. We are going to focus on the general pool that can roll on most clothing items. For this build, you may simply roll for mod slots entirely and fill them up with armadillos to boost your defensive capabilities. But if you feel like improving on other areas of the build, you may want to go for either a critical damage boost or for more quick hack cooldown reduction. All of these bonuses are maximized on legendary clothing, so if you want the best out of these stats, there are a number of legendary clothing spread throughout Night City. There are these clothing sets that are hidden all over the map. If you find one, make sure to save and reload until you get the properties that you want. For example, I rolled for these bonuses that I want on this piece of clothing. This one looks pretty useful. The RNG blessed me with this one because not only it rolled with a 4% crit damage boost, it also came with a legendary armadillo already attached to it. This is a legendary jacket that I found during one of Wakako's gigs. Now, these legendary clothing aren't only found in specific hidden locations. You can also find a good amount of legendary clothing during jobs, more so often during gigs. So be sure to keep an eye out for them. As for the setup that I use, I always go for mod slots on the head and face clothing, and the rest will always have the 4% critical damage boost. Let's move on to our wardrobe. For the first one, this is our main battle outfit. Think of this as our superhero suit, similar to how Murphy looked during the mission Love Like Fire. It's just mandatory to wear a Netrunner suit for obvious reasons. You can find a number of these inner torso clothing at the Pacifica clothing vendor. You can choose one with a color that you like, but for role-playing purposes, let's stick to the one that matches our color scheme. So for this instance, we'll go for the military-grade airmid net running suit because of the different variety of gray in this suit. It's a pretty good foundation for this outfit overall. For the outer torso slot, Murphy sports a bulletproof vest on top of her Netrunner suit. It only makes sense, especially for our V, to also don a protective vest along with our suit. We're always on the field risking our life from vicious gangs and blazing bullets as opposed to just sitting in an ice tub or a Netrunner station hooked to the net. You may get this Militech Ultralight Airmid breastplate at the downtown clothing vendor, also called Jinguji. This one's simple and slick due to it being 99% dark gray, but if you prefer a little bit more stylish and varied, you may get this Arasaka polycarbonate laced bulletproof airmid vest that you can get after beating Oda during the mission Play It Safe. This vest is particularly special because of the gray logo that matches the Netrunner suit and these red accents that gives this outfit a little more variety. For the face slot, visors are common apparel amongst Netrunners. We can easily get this visor from the Pacifica clothing vendor, the same vendor we got the Netrunner suit from. Get the trendy Red Vision laminated glass info visor. This one in particular has that little glitchy digital interface, and the animation on its surface has different variants of red, so it just really matches this outfit. As for the feet slot, we'll just go for these boots that you can find in Charter Hill. Head over to this area and you'll find some kind of trapdoor that leads down to a control room. Loot the body to get the hardened Netrunner boots with composite inserts. The boots are part of the Netrunner set, so get this one as soon as you can. Moving on to our second outfit, we'll get a different Netrunner suit and retain the feet slot. This one will be our street outfit. If you sometimes just feel like walking or driving around Night City for a while, then wear this outfit while you're at it. Even better if you can match it with a third-person mod. Starting off with a different variant of the inner torso slot, we'll go with this legendary Netrunner suit, the heat-resistant hybrid weave netrunning suit that can be found as a hidden gem right here. You may set a waypoint or fast travel to Ventura and Skyline and just drive down the road until you see this area with a shack. Find the little entrance behind it and crawl under, then loot the body lying on the runner chair. We went different this time around because we'll be mixing in some yellow from our palette, as this suit has little accents of yellow and it will really mix with our outer torso clothing. which will be this awesome looking biker vest. It's perfectly meant to go along with the legendary Netrunner suit, and what's special about this is that it doesn't cut off the sleeves of the suit unlike other outer torso clothing. You can get the Junge Werther reinforced leather biker vest at the Pacifica clothing vendor, another stylish piece from the Voodoo Boys. To fully complement the colors of this outfit, we'll be getting these aviators called the Elegant Sepia Vision Aviators with reinforced lenses at the clothing vendor in Japantown. Both stylish and fitting because of the sepia tint lenses, so be sure to get this one. Now for role-playing purposes, you want to switch between these two outfits depending on the situation. When you're doing gigs or side jobs that require a full set of abilities, go for your main battle suit. Every one of these missions is your own operation, so might as well dress appropriately. And if you're doing some social stuff like hanging out with River or Carrie, of course, you want to wear your street outfit. The wardrobe system is probably one of the better additions in the game since its release. To access wardrobes, just head to one of your apartments and find the hanger icon. And from there, you're free to select clothing slots and change clothing that are either in your inventory or your stash. The fun part here is that you can set your outfit presets here and so have the ability to change outfits on the fly. You can choose whichever outfit preset that you feel like wearing by heading into your outfit section in your inventory. Go crazy on the outfit changing. And with all that said, when it comes to clothing mods, make sure to have any legendary face and head clothing to be able to attach any legendary mods. You may go for a showtime to give yourself some damage boost against specific groups of enemies, namely moderate threat enemies and high threat enemies. But if you want to further improve quick hack efficiency, you can try to find a hack slinger, which gives cooldown reduction to your quick hacks. All of these mods are found in the open world, so be sure to look out for them. Insert a Fortuna to give your critical chance a little boost. You may go for Bully if you prefer to get more critical damage. Both mods can be found in the open world, but if you want to guarantee yourself one, do this little trick in a clothing vendor. When you're at the vendor, look out for face clothing items in their stock. If one of these items has a legendary mod attached to it, whether if it's a Fortuna or a Bully, you may buy that piece of clothing and equip it for your own. Since patch 1.6, they removed the ability to buy clothing mods from vendors and made them obtainable only in the open world. Just keep skipping time for 24 hours until a face clothing with a legendary mod attached to it becomes available for sale. As talked about earlier, if you find a piece of legendary clothing from hidden locations or gigs, it's up to you if you want to roll for a specific stat bonus or if you simply want to only roll mod slots on all of your clothing items. For the Armadillo mod, the vendor trick is usually enough to have armor boost to your clothing, but if you have a legendary clothing piece up for loot, save and reload until the item rolls with an Armadillo mod attached to it. Take note that the clothing can spawn with a legendary quality Armadillo, so feel free to take your time until you get that item in its highest stat possible. And that's it for gear. No guns, no other melee weapons except for the one that we're gonna go into detail for the next segment. Let's move on.
No can do. Sorry.
There are two big pieces of cyberware slots that we need to talk about. Number one is the cyberdeck, along with the Quickhacks that I will recommend using, and then of course the Monowire, which will be the only weapon that we will utilize for the entire playthrough. Like I said earlier, we will ditch any other kinds of weapon entirely and solely rely on hacking and a whip. It's a pretty interesting challenge overall, so let's start off with the Monowire. From the earliest point in the game that you'll be able to acquire a Monowire, you'll start off with a rare quality. Keep in mind that you won't be able to equip the legendary version until you are at 45 street cred, so keep the rare version for now and max out your street cred by doing hustles, gigs, and side jobs. The Monowire benefits from the reflexes bonuses, so that means that for every point in the reflexes attribute will boost the Monowire's damage by 3. Perks from the blade skill tree will also give different effects to the Monowire, such as more DPS, stamina boost, and healing, as do the skill bonuses from the progression rewards down here, so consider reading each one of them and see the effects that are benefiting your whip. Now, the Monowire has a charge level that determines the amount of damage you do to your target, and every attack consumes that charge level depending on the type of attack that you do. The charge level starts at 100 and will carry out its max damage, plus bonuses from mods when you hit an enemy. The Monowire's forward range is substantial too. Compared to other melee weapons, it hits targets at about 10 to 15 meters, and depending on the type of attack, it can hit multiple enemies at once due to its wide range. Be careful though, sometimes you may hit unwanted targets like a civilian, which you may not want to happen. There are also targets that are already down but alive that you may unexpectedly get hit, ultimately killing them. So keep that in mind too if you are going for a non-lethal run. So let's talk about the different attack types. First off is the standard light attack performed by pressing the left mouse button or the right trigger. Side range is pretty wide, so be careful of hitting unwanted targets. It will consume 8 charge levels. Performing 5 continuous light attacks will execute a full combo ending with a cross slash. Each piece of the combo will consume 8 charge levels for a total of 40 for the full combo. The heavy attack is a downward powerful slash using both whips. It is done by holding your attack button until V raises their arms up, then letting go of the button, dealing a much higher damage but at the cost of 20 charge levels. The range pretty much only covers the front, while any non-targets that may get hit at the side will be minimal. So heavy attacks can be pretty effective if you are locked onto a single target within a group. Still, be careful of non-targets behind your current one or any unconscious body on the ground. The crouch attack is a light upward slash that can be done by doing a light attack while crouching. It has similar range as the heavy attack, but what's special about this is that we will be utilizing this attack with the Jeepers Creepers perk, where we will be dealing double damage and an automatic critical hit while in stealth. You can make this look seamless by pressing the crouch button and the attack button in a quick succession. This attack will consume 8 charge levels. The defensive attack is a quick and sharp whip that also has a similar range as the heavy attack and the crouch attack, despite it seemingly looking like a wide slash. It will consume 8 charge levels, and you can do this by holding the block button and then pressing the attack button. The defensive attack's damage can be boosted by investing 2 points in the offensive defense perk, which will give this attack type a bonus 150% damage. Like the heavy attack, it's also effective against single targets but with more speed and control, so take advantage of this one. The jump attack and the running attack are the same horizontal cross whip that also has the same range as the heavy, crouch, and defensive. You can perform these by pressing the attack button while jumping or while running. Both of these attacks will consume 8 charge levels, so do these attacks while looking like a freaking badass. Another attack that you can do with a Monowire is the counter attack. If you are facing off against a melee attacker, time their hits with your block button and you'll perform a quick light punch which will incapacitate the enemy for a few seconds. Now that we've covered different types of attacks, let's move on to the mods. For the first slot, you can pick any damage type that you prefer. You can acquire a chemical type mod from Buck's Clinic found at Kabuki, the electrical type from the Ripper Dock at the El Decaldo camp, and the thermal type from Cassius at Northside. The second slot should be a Monowire battery, high capacity, to further boost your Monowire's charge damage by 50%. You can find one from Kravis's clinic at Charter Hill, Watson. For the third slot, attach the sensory amplifier mod. You may either go for the critical chance variant, which can be found from instant implants at the Cherry Blossoms Market in Kabuki, or the critical damage variant from the Ripper Dock at Wellsprings. Our second big piece of cyberware that we'll be mainly using will be the Tetratronic Rippler Mark IV. This cyberdeck will reduce our Quickhack upload time by 75% and cooldown by 45%. Along with a quick transfer perk from the Cold Blood tree, you'll be able to upload your Quickhacks, especially ones that have a slow base upload time, almost instantly. And with stacks and stacks of cooldown reduction from Breach Protocol and Quickhacking, you can cast Quickhacks as much as you can. If you decide to include an ultimate Quickhack on your set, you'll get pretty nice bonuses as well. Let's talk about Quickhacks. Since we'll be sticking to the narrative background of our character, our choice of Quickhacks will be entirely non-lethal in a variety of types, namely control, covert, combat, and even an ultimate if you choose to include one. Let's dive into the ones that I personally use, then we'll talk about other alternatives. The first one on my set is a legendary ping, which reveals enemy and device outlines. Basically a wall hack. Not only this serves as a wall hack, but also an area cast that will set up a few perks and any quick hack passives to activate. So take note of perks and legendary quick hacks that indicates target affected by a quick hack or enemies under the effect of any quick hack. Those effects will automatically set to trigger once they are highlighted by ping. Keep in mind though that enemies will automatically raise their alert level once ping gets uploaded along with any quick hack passives, making stealth a bit unpredictable. Number 2 on the list is a legendary reboot optics. Two main reasons why we'll be taking this one. Number 1 is that it's very effective in stealth by either directly uploading it to your target or through breach protocol. The special passive for this quick hack is that you'll gain an additional demon called Optics Jammer, which, once uploaded, will automatically blind any enemy that will dare look into your direction. Number 2 is that you'll always be utilizing the Breach Protocol perk Hackathon, as it will only take effect when you upload 3 or more demons. We will consistently have our 3 demons ready at our disposal, which are Ice Pick, Mass Vulnerability, and Optics Jammer. Speaking of quick hack passives, a legendary Sonic Shock quick hack has one of the best special passives in the game. With enemies under the effect of any quick hack like the ping I mentioned before, stealth becomes significantly convenient and easy because it cuts off any communication in the network. Now you don't really need to use this one actively as you'll completely rely on its passive. So if you plan to play the entire game utilizing stealth, this quick hack is a must. Next up on our list is a legendary short circuit. You can take advantage of this one by uploading it directly to your targets if you need to do some damage from a distance. But what's really interesting here is the special passive in which for every critical hit, you apply an electrical burst as extra damage. If you find yourself in combat situations, this passive will provide extra meat to your damage output as you whip your enemies with a monowire. Just make sure you stack crit chances as much as you can through clothing mods, perks, and cyberware. Take note that critical hits from combat quick hacks will not benefit from Short Circuit's passive, which leads us to another elemental spell that you can use, the legendary Contagion. This is another quick hack that I often use to weaken enemy health from a distance. The good thing about this one though is that it spreads rapidly and it stacks when it goes back and forth between targets. You can effectively kill a small group of enemies with this alone, provided that you have invested perk points in the quick hacking skill. The special passive gives you an additional jump to your other spreading quick hacks like the Reboot Optics or the Cripple movement, which will be my 6th quick hack on my set and an important piece for our survivability. This one works well both in stealth and in combat. During stealth, you can upload cripple movement to stop your targets temporarily and be able to do as you please without the risk of getting detected. And when in combat situations, be sure to upload cripple movement to stop the enemies from attacking you, thus avoiding taking damage entirely. And that's pretty much it for my top 6. Let's take a look at some alternatives. A legendary Overheat is a great damage dealer, especially when augmented by quick hacking perks. But since we're using the Tetratronic Rippler Mark IV, this one will only stay on a single target compared to using the Netwatch NetDrive Mark V, which will upload this quick hack to 3 targets on a radius. So keep that in mind if you consider including this on your set. A legendary system reset can be used to easily take down your enemies if you don't want the trouble of getting too much action. It's also a good way to completely avoid getting a lot of damage. With all the cooldown reduction that we have from our perks and our cyber deck, this 120-second cooldown will practically be reduced to almost 0, and you can just basically spam it to your heart's content. And the special passive that comes along with it will give you a bit of a bonus to your quick hacking efficiency. Take note that when you eliminate a target with system reset, you don't get a stack of cold blood, and it doesn't work on some types of enemies like bosses or cyber psychos. Another one that I really like to use from time to time is an epic memory wipe. It's another quick hack with a 120-second cooldown that can be reduced down to almost zero. It acts as a stealth reset when you get detected, but also as a group mini stun. It works well alongside sonic shocks, so if you are focused more on stealth, use these two in tandem. And with all that, completes my quick hack recommendations. It's worth repeating that you don't need to hunt for these quick hacks via access points. You breach into access points to farm for components to be able to craft legendary versions of these quick hacks. Let's move on. To further improve our damage output through cyberwares, you want to equip the legendary variants of the limbic system enhancement and the visual cortex support to boost your crit chance by 7% and crit damage by 30%. We want to raise our crit stats as much as we can to be able to consistently proc the legendary short circuit passive. Along with these two are rare quality skeleton cyberwares, a dense marrow, and a micro vibration generator to give your Monowire a 25% damage boost. For stamina efficiency, you want to whip your Monowire for as long as you can without getting the exhaustion debuff. You may get a rare adrenaline booster which will restore 30% when you defeat an enemy, and an uncommon Sin Lungs which will provide you a small boost to stamina regen. More on efficiency, we'll be using a memory boost to improve our overall quick hacking capabilities. Every time you take down an enemy, you will instantly restore 3 ramps. This is what I found more effective than investing perk points on round recovery rate perks such as efficiency or biosynergy. You may equip a rare bioplastic blood vessel to give yourself a small boost to your health regen. Defensive cyberwares include an epic inductor, which will prevent damage over time when in shock status and instead provide additional armor. A legendary pain editor to reduce any incoming damage by 10% works really well along with cheat death and pain is an illusion. The legendary neofiber to further boost your mitigation stats with a 5% increase to your mitigation chance and 10% increase to your mitigation strength. The epic heat converter, while you can still be affected by the burn status, instead of taking burn damage over time, you deal 10% more damage. And then lastly, a legendary subdermal armor to flat out give you a 300 bonus to your armor. For the ocular system, make sure to get yourself an epic Mark III Kiroshi for the 3 slots. Again, this build is primarily focused on non-lethal gameplay. Insert the target analysis mod so that all of your attacks won't kill your enemies. As for the rest, threat analysis to get a small boost to mitigation chance and weak spot detection for a little bit of crit chance. For additional cyberware abilities, we'll take the legendary Kerenzikov to add time dilation, which will improve our survivability and combat capabilities overall. You may forego using Neofiber and instead equip Nano Relays to increase the duration of the Kerenzikov by 2 seconds. Alternatively, you can go for the maneuvering system so you can perform Kerenzikov mid-air. As for the legendary optical camo, you can use this ability to further aid you during stealth situations. Together with the ghost perk from the Ninjutsu skill tree and the special passive from the Sonic Shock quick hack, you can approach your targets with an almost 0% chance of being detected. So be sure to grab this cyberware whenever you can. And with that, completes everything that you need to put this character at its full potential. An action-oriented quick hacking and melee setup that is also capable of stealth makes this character an untouchable powerhouse. For the last couple segments of this video, I'm gonna give a few tips on how to survive the early parts of the game and throughout your playthrough while still enjoying the beauty Night City has to offer. As soon as you leave your apartment in Act 1, follow along the main quest line and immediately start the mission, The Ride, to earn some free XP. After the mission ends, you'll arrive at the Kabuki market where nearby, you'll find a quick hack vendor. This is also the location of the side job, The Gift, where the vendor will provide you a free uncommon ping, which we'll be using during the early parts of the game. So make sure to slot it in your cyberdeck. Once you get your free quick hack, you may immediately head to Lizzie's and start the main job, The Information. It's another social call with 0 action, so just follow along the story and you'll be getting your free XP in no time. After clearing all these missions, you may start doing NCPD hustles and Regina Jones's gigs where you will put your stealth game to the test. Remember that this is a challenge run, so don't use any guns or any other melee weapons other than the Monowire, which you'll be getting a little bit later. Take advantage of your early game quick hacks, use devices to distract your enemies and approach them when you can, then take them down. If you are doing a non-lethal playthrough, make sure to just subdue them instead of breaking their necks. For the early game perks, you want to focus on getting the ones that will make stealth a bit more convenient. From the quick hacking tree, spend points on these 3 crafting perks for now: Hacker's Manual, School of Hard Hacks, and Hacker Overlord. Then a few points to Forget-Me-Not and Signal support for a bit of quick hacking efficiency. On the Breach Protocol tree, get the 2 Mass Vulnerability perks, the main one, and Resistances, to be able to debuff your enemies so that they're more vulnerable to your Monowire or your combat quick hacks. Speaking of demons, you want to spend at least a single point to Big Sleep. This will be a big help during gigs when the mission requires you to sneak into a building filled with security cams. You may max this out completely if you feel limited to the 3-minute duration. Total Recall and Totaler Recall to enhance your Ice Pick Demon to further improve your quick hack efficiency. Advanced Data Mine to be able to get more components for crafting your quick hacks. Like I said earlier, feel free to hack into access points as much as you can. Over at the Ninjutsu skill, spend a point on Crouching Tiger to give yourself a little speed while you're sneaking, and at least a single point to Cold Blood from the Cold Blood tree. This will allow you to level up your Cold Blood progression early on. And finally, over at the Blades skill tree, make sure to max out Flight of the Sparrow to efficiently wield the Monowire without getting exhausted easily. And speaking of the Monowire, as soon as you can afford them, get yourself a rare quality Monowire from any Ripper Doc and Watson, and buy the Stevenson Tech Mark II Cyberdeck at the Kabuki Market to start off with a few core elements of the build early on in the game. You may slot in a few uncommon or rare quick hacks such as Ping, Cripple Movement, and Reboot Optics to aid your stealthing. You may also take advantage of combat quick hacks like an Overheat or a Contagion during combat situations. And before you end the first act, make sure you have equipped yourself with an epic optical camo and the legendary subdermal armor, also available at the Kabuki Market. By the end of Act 1 before the heist, with all gigs, main jobs, side jobs, and NCPD hustles completed, you'll probably be sitting at around level 17 and have fully maxed out the intelligence attribute. Feel free to spend a point on Bart Moss Legacy and craft yourself a couple of legendary quick hacks. I recommend crafting the Sonic Shock and the Short Circuit mainly for their passives. When the whole of Night City opens up for you, that's where the real game starts. But at that point in the game, you would already have your intelligence attribute maxed out, you got a couple of legendary quick hacks, and you have a Monowire. Your character progression for the rest of the game is pretty straightforward. As the roleplay segment of the video suggested, finish the Evelyn Parker questline as soon as you exit your apartment at the beginning of Act 2. From the moment you meet up with Takemura up until the end, where you make the choice of whether you would let the Voodoo Boys go about their day or slaughter them for betraying your trust. After completing that main questline, you may now start doing the Epistrophe quest given by Delamain. Completing all of the side jobs available here would net you with an ample amount of XP, giving you a couple of levels for your progression. This will also take you driving around Night City and be able to unlock a number of fast travel points as well. And then after completing Epistrophe, the city is all yours to conquer. Complete gigs from different districts of the map, resolve those NCPD hustles, or go on a social call during side jobs. Finish the main jobs if you want to move the story forward at any time. Here is a list of enemy levels from each district to give you a sense of how much power those enemies have depending on where they are. You can then judge for yourself on how you want to prioritize what jobs that need to be finished first and what areas you should avoid at the moment. Keep completing jobs until you finally reach at least level 45 street cred so that you may get the legendary Monowire and the Tetratronic Rippler Mark IV. And at this point, the only thing left to do is to finalize the build through attributes, perks, and other cyberware pieces. Check out the complimentary Google Sheet that I created to find where the items that I suggested in this video are located, link in the description. And finally, we have arrived at the end of the build. A simple but powerful netrunner build that steers away from the typical quick hack cast only setup, but instead mixes it up with some close range action with the monowire to make it a bit more stylish and aggressive. But that's not all. I will now leave you with the build summary and the secret ending mission, Don't Fear the Reaper. I hope you liked this video. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay tuned for more creative build videos like this. And to all returning viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for the support just by being here and watching, whether in full viewing or by parts or just dropping by. I really appreciate it. And that's about it. I'll see you soon.
Huh. You just discovered what it takes to become a legend. Grab your iron. Let's mobilize.
Stuck tower.
Time to party
Weapons
like it's
and other hazardous
2023.
materials are not allowed on the premises. We wish you a pleasant day.
Careful. This is their house. Got a game plan all polished and rehearsed. Tower went up in smoke. Labs were underground. Elevator's what we want. Shit. Needs an access token. Need to find a guard with some chops. Status. He'll have our access token.
Why the hell are you here, bitch?
So far, so good.
I'm engaging. We're being attacked. Open fire. He's next. All units report. Opening fire. Approaching target. Bitch is playing dirty.
Over here. Ain't no expert, but sure looks like the tower's mainframe to me.
She's hacking! Shoot it down! Terrorist activity! Fish on your grave! It's over! It's inescapable!
No.
All right. Not exactly seeing any slots.